Well, in this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot-tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was or the entity was absolutely horrible. I didn't waste any time. I reached for my pistol. At that time, as an engineer, I didn't have time to carry all the folderol of one of these big submachine guns that all the sea spray and the yellow fruit and all the outer perimeter and inner perimeter security people carried. I carried a little Walther PPK pistol with a 9-shot clip. This was in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do die.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to a very fine and delicious evening. It's going to be delicious because we're going to be talking about good old Phil Schneider. I don't even know where to start with this one. But yeah, it's going to be fun. But without further ado, my lad.
Hey, what's going on?
Second lad there. Hey. My boys. And we're going to have another boy in very soon. Stu's going to join us, and maybe another one, a very well respected one, might come on. I don't know. He's not answered me yet, but we are good friends, so I have invited Scott.
Oh, really? Hell yeah, man!
Yes.
But we'll see because he hasn't seen my invite yet. So, I watched his video with his partner in crime.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it. Where are we going to start with this? Where should we start? Ice cream. Should we start from the beginning? Do you think?
Wait. So the beginning of his full history of Phil, or like 1995 lecture circuit Phil? Where do you want to start?
Well, I've been binge watching some stuff. Like I knew about this case anyway, and Nick just sent me a message the other day, and it was just like the words Phil Schneider. I'm like, seriously?
Rings a bell, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And Nick's like, could be a good show. I'm thinking, Stu said this as well. In fact, Stu Little. I was speaking to Stu on a video call one day, and his son his son's just amazing. I think he's about 9 years old, and he knows more about ufology than I do. Which is not hard, but he's like in his cute Scottish accent. He's like, I'm not going to do it because I can't do it. But he says, Ollie, you should do a show on Phil Schneider. It'll be awesome. And then you said it the other day, Nick. So I'm like, is this a sign? A sign to just do a show about Phil Schneider? But I didn't want to do...
The reason why I sent it, Ollie, because I wasn't too sure if he did an episode on it. Because he's a very fascinating guy when it comes to ufology. Really interesting. Depends how deep you can go. So yeah, I wasn't too sure, man. in your back catalogue of live streams you've been doing?
Well, I'll tell you what, Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Give us the. I'm going to pick on you. Give us the story, the best you can break it down without any of the debunks. Just give us the drama.
Okay, so 1995, Phil Schneider starts going on a lecture circuit. And he starts talking about how he was and God, I'm gonna do my best here, a geologist
Doing great.
for the government, and that he had worked on a underground base that was supposedly developed in Dulce, New Mexico. And when they were drilling down into the ground and they were building this base, they had supposedly had this drill, and this drill was next level incredible. I mean, the drill itself, when it would burrow through, they didn't need to remove the dirt because it would actually create a lining inside of the tunnel. I mean, it's incredible technology right at the time. But he said that when they were burrowing in, they hit an empty area, a cave. And this is where all of these aliens were. And it sounded like the aliens weren't too happy about it. And that's when a lot of the fighting had ensued. And there were people that were killed, Green Berets, supposedly Black Berets. But you know, Phil, he's the ultimate beret. He got out of there and made it. But
It was the only one.
Yeah, the only one. Correct. Yep. But no, he went on.
The only thing to add to that story is that the fact is, you're right, they were drilling on top of these areas to build this underground system. But what will happen is that the equipment kept on being damaged.
Oh,
and they were thinking,
right.
what the hell's going on here? And so,
Yeah,
as they were sending, the machine was getting broken. For what the bloody hell's going here? So they sent probes down. The probes were getting broken, and they thought, well, let's send a person down, which was the man himself, Phil Schneider, and that's where the story began. So,
He's also saying some of the holes that they were drilling, there was this black stuff just coming up.
So yeah,
that came according to Phil.
Yeah.
So this story, though, I mean, it kind of had legs for so long because, unfortunately, a year after, Phil died under suspicious circumstances. Not a year after the incident, a year after when he went public with this as a whistleblower.
Yep.
So, and then people started talking about his mental health, and people have done debunks and looked back at his mental health.
But that was more or less later on in his life. That's like more or less like now sort of time. But back then, no one really sort of went into his medical background.
So it's a story that has, I think, nearly everybody who's into this subject has heard the name Phil Schneider. Maybe if you newbies with the Tic Tac and that's what brought you in, you may not know this story. But it's one that for quite some time, a lot of people were convinced that this guy was telling the truth because he had the scars to prove it. So this guy lost, was it 3 fingers? He literally had like a...
Yeah. The thumb, the index finger, and I believe his middle finger too. Yeah, they were all gone. It was gnarly to look at. I mean, he would hold it up. It was like, oh my God, you know. And then he had the big scar on his chest that he would famously lift up his shirt in the conferences he would do, and you'd see the scar. And I think that's what sold so many people. I mean, how would you have injuries like that? You know what I mean? And people would that would tie to the story so well. I can understand if you didn't look into it, how it would make it a lot more believable. You know.
The way the guy talked as well, he talked with such confidence when he told this story. You know, it was like a crazy but respectful uncle.
Very matter of factly, yes.
Yeah, telling you what happened to him. Maybe a couple of things may have been slightly exaggerated, but it did sound truthful.
I agree. I think he's probably second place to John Lear. And like, even though stuff with John Lear wasn't always true and most of it wasn't, but boy, they could tell you and you'd believe it kind of still, it would pull you in with their delivery. Absolutely.
when you're looking for stuff about this guy as well, I mean, for 1995, I mean, I don't blame it because cameras were people didn't have people did have cameras, but things get degraded over time, I think. So a lot of the audio of some of those is barely watchable. But it's just I do find it before we go into any of the debunk stuff. I was hoping Scott would come on to just destroy us with that one. But I do find it extremely interesting that this guy literally died like a year after he started doing this.
But this ties in more or less into his like medical background, because the video that I watched today, which was from Scott, mostly Scott Brown, did an amazing video, more or less like the debunk, and this went into the.
Is that the one I sent you?
His mental health. Yeah, the one that he sent me. Yeah, he's got a
ice cream
very bad medical background. Yeah, so now he's taken off his own life, whether or not he did it on purpose. But he said many times, "Look, I'm not here to take my own life. I'm not here. I can't say the word Ollie because it's YouTube. You know what I mean? I can't say the S word, but it's you know what I mean. He said countless times, and there's a 6-hour lecture of him, like all broken up in an hours that he's done, and he always says, "I'm not here to take my own life." And year after, in 1995, I think it was 1996, wasn't it that it happened?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Have you seen the pictures of his dead body?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. I forgot to mention that, Ollie. There is actual, what would you call it? The coroner's sort of photograph.
Yeah, there's a small one of just a close up. I think if I remember right, it was just like the shoulders up of his head. He was kind of laying on the side.
Yeah.
It's kind of gruesome to look at it. Yeah, there is a photo.
Yeah, unfortunately, we won't be able to.
Yeah, you don't need to, man.
Not unfortunately, because people don't want to see it. But
yeah, we've described it well enough already. But
yeah.
Which was always interesting that those photos came out too. I guess is that stuff public? I don't know. I always thought that was. I always wondered if that picture was real. To be honest, I mean, I'm sure it probably is.
The story of the death, if I'm getting it, and correct me if I'm getting this wrong, because I get a lot of things wrong, but what they said, he strangled himself with his own catheter.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean,
wrapped it around his neck 3 times. Brutal.
Well, the other thing, Cynthia, his ex-wife, said that he died of a stroke, first of all. And then obviously, looking at the photographs, the coroner said, no, he strangled himself with piano wire. I think that was right. Something to do with some sort of wire.
Correct.
Then it was the catheter. So you got 3 different sides of the story here. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Looking at the photographs, it looks like it's catheter, to be honest with you.
That's what I remember. I seen the picture years ago, and from what I remember of the photo, which I mean, who knows with memories nowadays, I thought it was like a cord, like a light, like a lamp cord or something like that when I had seen it. But yeah, it's vaguely in my mind. I didn't go look up for it again because I was like, I don't really want to see that at this point. I mean, everything else we're seeing on Twitter and everything else right now with everything that's going on in the world, I kind of didn't need to see more death, so I just left it alone. But no, it's a weird one for sure.
I mean, it takes a lot for a person to, I imagine, to do that, to be able to because I've known people in my life. Fortunately, they are still here, but a lot of people they do a cry out for help before anything, and some people will say they're going to do something, and there's saying and there's doing, and there's that cry out for help. But the reality of it is, a lot of people will. It either takes something so hideous that's happened in somebody's life for them to do something like that, or they are just a fucking machine, because I don't mean a machine as in like hard as nails. I mean literally a machine, because the reality of that is to do it that way, especially that way. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I'm sure the guy would have had access to medication. Because I don't just want people to look at this case and go and say, listen, it's debunked, forget about it. The guy's a liar. He did this, that, and the other. The odd thing is the suspicious thing is what happened. The story probably is all bullshit, but there's something there. There's something interesting there, that this guy, after 1 year from coming out as a whistleblower, this happens.
I wonder though, Ali, you heard him in a lot of his videos say that he valued his country more than his life. And when he said that, and I start to think about, how much traction his story really got. I mean, even when he was going around telling everything, it's not like it blew it all wide open. There could have been a part of him at the very end that realized he does value his country more than his own life. And he thought that maybe if he did things the way that he did them, people would think it was a conspiracy, and maybe that would help blow it open. They'd look at it more. Could have been set up that way. He might have wanted people to think that way, so they would look into it more. You know what I mean?
I think we need to go back what made him come out and do these conferences, because he allegedly did about over 30 conferences.
You mean his friend?
His friend. In 1993, Ron, is it Rummel?
Rummel, yep.
Yeah, Rummel. He was killed. Well,
they
said it was suicide. It was.
If you go back a little bit more, they were doing comics together, weren't they? They were doing like Alien
Digest, yeah.
Alien Digest, yeah. They were doing that. They're co-writing a magazine together. There's a video online. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's them two together on a road trip, and is them being interviewed, and they got like some awesome like 80s music in the background, and they're like quite cool. Them in the desert out there. That's like pretty telling. But that's that sort of time when they're writing that Alien Digest, wasn't it? When they were talking about, because wasn't Ron connected to these underground bases as well? I wasn't too sure.
I mean, supposedly he worked at the. Yeah. Well, no, I was gonna say supposedly he was part of the Air Force, but I don't know if that was ever really confirmed. His whole position, I don't think was ever really confirmed.
Yeah, true. I was just wondering, because he had like 2 shots to the back of the head, and apparently he did that by himself.
I think either we're in front of you, Nick, or you're in front of us with the lag.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We might. It'll probably work if before every sentence and one of us wants to talk. Or I go like that. Or ice cream goes like that.
I can put the pen up.
There we go. Yeah. We'll do it old school. We'll work with the internet.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sorry, man.
No, you guys continue. You didn't even know.
But no, when it comes to Ron and his death, I don't know. It's all speculation, really. But that's what got Phil to come out and do these conferences. That's the whole main purpose.
He shot himself, his friend, didn't he?
Twice in the back of the head, allegedly, with his hands tied behind his back.
So yeah, I had heard he shot himself in the mouth from Scott Brown's video on a park bench.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's 2 sides to this. If there's 2 sides to any story, guys, this one has 2 sides, clear as day.
You see, and I'm going to say my classic little saying here. Here's the thing. I love Scott Brown. I think he's great. I've had him on numerous times. The guy is an intelligent guy. He knows this field. But for anybody who's doing research on this field, some of the research that we do get, how do we know we can trust where it's coming from? Because especially when it's debunking this, and I'm going to spoiler alert. I think that the Phil Schneider story, I think a lot of it is a little bit out there. But the whole him taking his own life is that's the part of it that I find extremely interesting. That bit, and the wife coming out years later saying that he would have never done this, the ex-wife. But then if you listen to her interview, it's like, well, if this stuff's real, it's fucking bonkers, and it's out there, because the stuff that she's saying, almost, if I'm going to go down this real conspiracy route, the stuff that she's saying is wilder than the stuff that he said.
Yeah, she picked up the torch and started sprinting, huh? She did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, and also I don't know if any of you two you picked up on stuff that the daughter's doing now.
No.
No. What's
so
up?
Apparently I don't know if she does interviews or anything like that, because I've not managed to find anything on her. I would love to get her on. But
Yeah.
she's literally fighting her dad's corner. Apparently, according to, is Cynthia his wife's name? Cynthia, I think it's Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia,
my grandma's name. But she doesn't. If we take it from the death bit does sound like there's something amiss there. We're missing something. The UFO community, when you're investigating this, you're missing something with the death. Forget the aliens. Forget all about the aliens. If you look at this as a true crime case or whatever, there's something weird there with that death.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been though that he really started to believe the story that he made up, and when he started to really believe that, he couldn't handle the truth of it all himself.
There's a history of mental health.
Yeah,
because he was in a psychiatric ward in the 60s. He was there for about a year. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, self-mutilation, self-harm. And that was backed up by document. That was in Scott's video. Really, really good video. The guy who came forward was named, I think his name was Joe. I could not find his channel. Was it Joe from Carolinas?
Joe from the Carolinas.
Yeah.
So that's another weird thing. I looked at that guy's channel. That guy's channel's been deleted.
Has it really?
Yeah, I could not find it anywhere. I looked.
And there's another one. There's another one there. In fact, you guys just keep going. I'm just going to find this for you.
Well, I mean, when you look at the evidence that he brought forward, was he FOIA'd all those FBI documents? I mean, a lot of people, you could easily say they're covering it up, that they influenced the coroner report and all this. Yeah, I mean, you could always make the argument for the other way on it, especially where what stuff comes from. But I don't know. With Phil's history, I see a couple other options of why it could have went down the way that it finally did. He could have either couldn't have handled even what he was saying, or he thought, like I mentioned earlier, that this was the only real way to get people to really look, was to make it look like this and to have people dig. But yeah, the story's incredible. I mean, no doubt about it. He's on Mount Rushmore of some of the best stories out of all of ufology for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at it, looking at the firefight that he had in 1979, this is the alien thing that happened. He started to add the conspiracy realm when he started doing the conference circuits. And you can see that in his lectures, he started to add like the Illuminati, Freemasonry, that sort of stuff into it. So I don't know how far I should take him seriously on that, whether or not his story is true when it comes to the firefight. I don't know. It's a tricky one, but regardless, it is very fascinating. It's not going to go away. Phil Schneider is not going to go anyway in ufology. It's just a fascinating story.
No, not with the FBI documents being what's mostly debunking it. Yeah, I mean that's going to leave people just say it's cover up, and they'll continue believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the year that it allegedly happened? Was it the 70s? Yeah.
Yeah, in Dulce, New Mexico, the Dulce base, whether or not that it actually exists or not. Is it Dulce or Dolce? How do you
Dulce.
pronounce
I mean,
it?
I call it Dulce. A lot of people call it the Alien Wars, but I've always heard it referred to as the Dulce Wars. I mean, I think
Dulce
Lear always
Wars.
said the Dulce Wars, but
yeah.
Has it not spared? So I think again it was, I heard this on Scott Brown's talk, that down where it is, they've it's got some tourist attraction now.
Yeah, they do that
It's a
festival.
conference.
Yep.
Yeah.
And is this festival all from Phil Schneider?
I'm assuming
That's the bit that I couldn't kind of work out.
Well, I mean, it's New Mexico, right? I mean, you have Roswell, Corona. I mean, you have other references in New Mexico, of course.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a bit of
there's
both
like
of
a
it.
date or something that they celebrate or something like with this incident, because did we get a date of when this allegedly happened?
What? Oh, actually, I might have it down.
Not
here.
that I can remember, man. To be honest, no, I've never seen him say an actual date. Yeah, I mean, I know.
No.
I can see that as well, and I
no.
painfully listen to, especially the longer interview. And I say painfully, I really enjoyed the ones that I could hear, but the ones there's a few out there that all you can hear is, and then every so often you can hear him speak. But yeah, I mean, if maybe he's brought some good to that town, you know, he's brought a bit of tourism. That's always a good. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Working ufology is all about business. Was it Phil Schneider who actually started the Dulce myth? That was an underground base there.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything until he said that. Yeah.
I think it is him.
Yeah. I mean, Lear references him a lot throughout the years. Lear was obviously he was a big believer in the Dulce Wars.
Yeah, Lear's also referenced Billy Meyer, and so was Phil. Phil Schneider referenced Billy Meyer as well.
Yeah, this Palladian bullshit, and yeah.
What was that? What was that Cambion's prover maneuver? Yeah, one guy with fake evidence. Talk about another guy with fake evidence.
So if we look at the self-mutilation, so there's files out there that this guy went into a mental institute. He liked self-harm. So he cut his fingers off the same, and he cut into his chest. That is one motherfucking. I mean, that looks like it's been. It does look like surgical. Yeah, it looks surgical.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's too precise.
I thought it did too. Yeah.
It does.
Because apparently, because wasn't he hit by that blue beam? So, for instance, when he went down into that pit, when you come across two aliens, he says in a lecture that the alien did this, and the blue beam hit him, struck him in the chest. Now,
and his wife said he was shot by an alien.
Shot by, it depends on what bloody stories.
His wife said the alien shot him.
Well, because from the chest.
I think if I told my wife that, you know, an alien rubbed its stomach and then a bit of blue beam came out, and and then I passed away a year later, and then she started to tell the story, I think she probably, you know, tell the story that it rubbed its chest, whatever, and then that happened. But his wife said the alien shot him.
It just seems like everyone else that got killed by, you know, weaponry of that kind, whatever they had. It just seems, I just don't know if he would have made it out like that. You know, I mean, just lost the fingers. I mean, when you're getting shot, he supposedly gets hit right here in the chest. So what was he doing? Kind of trying to cover his chest, and that's what hit the fingers at the same time as the chest. Like, I've never seen him line up the wounds. He never really said like, oh yeah, I kind of stepped backwards, you know, and put my hand out. You know, if it was one beam, he had to have been shot more than once by it, you know, if he didn't cover. You know what I mean? Because he has two different wound areas.
So what Ice Cream would make sense, exactly what you've just said there. It would make sense that the alien did have a gun in his hand. That would make sense to the fingers, because if someone goes like that, you may go like that, or you may go like that, you may go like that to cover up, or you may just, if you're smart, just jump to the floor, turn around and take one in the ass. But that's demonetized.
Oh, you think YouTube wanted us talking about Philly Schneider? Come on, they don't want us talking about him. But you know, I thought about though, Ali, is he said that he had a pistol on him, and I think that's maybe what he meant by he was pointing his gun, and they tried to shoot the gun out of his hand. Maybe that's how he gets it there. He gets hit twice.
Well, if he's holding his gun, the gun's metal. I mean, that would be, I think it's his left hand. Is it?
Yeah,
no,
it's his left hand. Yeah,
it's his left hand.
Oh, so that'd be interesting to know if he's left or right-handed. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's left-handed. If he's left-handed, that would be interesting to know.
Wow.
But even if you look at his hand, even with his missing fingers, it's still quite surgically precise. You know, it's not like it's all mangled up. I mean, I understand the healing process. I mean, if you're going by his story, it's still quite clean if you look at it. I mean, it's a tricky one, yeah, because I see what you're saying, Ollie. You know, if he's having the pistol out, because didn't he originally shot one first, and then the other one did the blue beam and hit him?
He killed two. He said, "Yeah,
yeah." Said they are mortal and they do die.
yeah.
I love that line from him. I love that line. He says, "They are mortal and they do die."
Yeah. When I was like watching it, I just looked at that bit, and I looked at the timestamp and went, "That's the intro."
Yeah. Yeah, that part always stuck out when we had that story. But he had material too. I mean, he supposedly had metals. He throws the metal on the ground and says you can't break it. Rings like a bell.
Have we seen these metals?
I think there's been pictures, if I remember right. Maybe one of the videos zooms in a little bit on them. Like I think there's a stack of them on a table, and you can see all of them. Yeah.
Everything that he shows in that video looks like a blob.
It's art's parts, man, you know?
No, but do you know what I mean? Because the video quality is that terrible. In fact, I'm going to bring it up. But yeah, about Joe the Carolinas. He has a channel now, which is Joe the Carolinas 2. Bear in mind how that guy was pretty big. And he has 151 subscribers. And he has 0. In fact, let me.
Yeah, let's bring it up.
I wanted to see that guy's stuff.
Because I wonder what inspired him to go do that. You know, go for that stuff like that. It's always interesting with people. Yeah, that's him, 100%. Yep.
Yeah, that's him.
So this is the channel. No videos.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Nothing. No content. Now, I don't know if this. So, can you still see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so. Is this guy him?
It's pretty close.
There's no conspiracy. I'm just trying to find.
No. I mean, it's interesting. It's close. I mean, the photo of him that was.
And if you look at the content,
video, is really good.
Missing 111 Apollo mission history. It's kind of. I think this guy could be him.
Yeah, just a rebrand.
I wonder why he had to rebrand.
Probably to beat the
I
algorithms.
find all that sort of stuff fascinating. The fact that he's got a
Right.
Joe the Carolinas too. You know, especially if he's doing debunks. What's wrong with doing the debunks?
That's what I was gonna say. Why would he have to redo it? It seemed like they'd be happy that they debunked him, you know? But
He's probably getting a lot of shit because you know how the UFO community is.
it's true.
Well, we'll know if this video gets a massive spike of views. We're supposed to talk about Phil. We're supposed to believe in Phil.
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting guy. Like I said, I mean, his story is legendary. I mean, it's just, yeah, you made an interesting point, Ali, where it's like a lot of people who came into this in 2017, they're just not going to know these stories. You know, there's good stories out there, like there's believable stuff, but you know, when you look at the overall, just in my opinion, fun ones that are just, we know they're not really much to them. Like this is one of the top ones at that point, you know.
I think if you are into this subject and you're looking into it, I think you owe it to yourself to go back and just watch some absolute garbage.
Well, I think you have to. I think that's part of the process. I mean, Rich said something interesting. He's like, you got to do at least 5 years and get your heart broken before you can really start to make up your mind on what you get into the truth. Which, yeah, I agree. I think you need to go back and believe all this stuff and then whittle your way down. If you really want, like, to get to the answer. Some people, guys, they just want the entertainment. They don't care. They want to think that, you know, Philly Schneider was down there shooting aliens and everything. And I get that part, but yeah, I agree. It's always good to go back, know your history.
So the audio is terrible.
Billy Meyer is one of these lucky people that they figured, well, he's kind of a simple type. We'll show him everything. Well, these are the benevolent aliens, and they've been here helping us. In fact, I have a picture. Let me reach for it here.
This is the only thing you kind of see at this presentation.
I have a picture of one of the aliens been working for the United States Pentagon for the last 58 years. His name is Valiant Thor.
It's a big photo.
He's right here. There's my father in the background. This whole place, the ready room of the USS.
So that picture right there.
Yeah, there's good quality photos of it. There's good versions of it. Yeah,
I've got it for us. Yeah. So that's it right there. So that's the guy that he says is an alien. I'll play it. I'll just, can you hear?
Eldridge,
you still hear him?
Has probably explained, or maybe even shown you this picture. There's a list of some of the notable people in it. They're all the atomic bomb scientists of the day, all the time variant experimentalists of the day, all the top physicists of that particular day. This was in August of 1943. Now, this guy has not changed one iota in 58 years. Started work, he came here, crashed here or whatever, whether he's under duress or not. He started work for our U.S. Navy and military operations in 1937, either 37 or 38 is what I've been told. So it's for 58 years, this man's been employed, probably under duress. If you don't do as we say, we're just going to use you for alien bait or something. I don't know. But anyway, he basically hasn't changed. He lives for 490 years, is what he says his lifespan is. Now, he's supposedly a semi-benevolent, he's a human-looking type person. He has 6 fingers and 6 toes, and he's got one oversized heart, one lung, giant lung. His blood vessels are bigger. He's got copper.
I mean, do you know, there's a point where, like, when you're telling a story and you want people to believe your story and you're making it up.
Yeah.
Where you need to settle down. Because, and I'm wondering if this guy's been, you know, this could be, because I believe David Grush believes everything he's telling us. I believe somebody's told him certain things, and he's gone and delivered it. I'm not too sure about this guy, but he does seem like he believes what he's saying. Now, if you're talking mental health, like maybe you could manipulate somebody with mental health. But the thing is, there with all that information, and I'm taking it he knows Phil's father, this alien. Hi, my name's so and so. I'm an alien. I have one heart, one lung. My blood cells are a bit bigger than yours. Are they going to introduce themselves like that?
Probably not, right? I mean, you brought up something interesting right there. You think his dad told him some of this stuff? I mean, do we know anything about Phil Schneider's dad or his parents? I don't know anything about
His
him.
dad was in. Did
Well,
he do
according
something
to
with
the
the
German,
Manhattan Project?
well, he was originally a U2. Well, worked for the Germans for the submarines. I can't remember what they're bloody called, the actual name for it, but the submarine U-boats that they were dealing with. So he was on the German side, but he was brought over to work for the Manhattan Project and then the Philadelphia experiment. But accordingly, Cynthia has documents in regards of Phil Schneider's father.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if it's correct or if this documentation is actually real or not. I'm not too sure. But there's a pretty good interview with her showing the documents. Yeah.
Oxide for blood, similar to an octopus. His brain capacity 300 centimeters greater than ours. He has a thinking capacity, IQ. If you were to measure it, be totally off the scale, be about a 1200 IQ. He speaks 100 languages fluently, alien as well as others. He's a remarkable person. I had a chance to meet him one time. Now, by the way, he doesn't shake hands. He's kind of in a spacesuit because all aliens, regardless benevolent or otherwise, they're carrying germs and disease.
I just add that Phil didn't shake hands either.
And bacterium in and on them that are deadly to us. If I were making policy, I'd quarantine them all because how do we not know that some of our diseases like AIDS, Ebola, hantavirus, and a few of these other weird designer diseases, as I call them, are not made from the cadavers of some of these aliens as a biological weapon to use against the people of the United States? Well, I'm tired. I'm a tired American speaking out.
I would
go, Phil.
Honestly, what I would give to sit down, to have gone back and sit down and have a couple of drinks with that man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like Grolsch times 10.
What about the Valiant Thor, the guy in the photo? I mean, he's saying it's in the 40s. I mean, I believe it. The photo looks like that. I mean, do we know anything about that guy? I mean, the guy in the photo. I mean, he's definitely not wearing a spacesuit like Phil is saying. He can't shake hands in a spacesuit. I mean, he's not in a spacesuit there. I mean, he looks like he's shaking hands. He's sitting next to everybody, right? I mean,
is it me or is his neck really thick?
I feel like that's the lens, though. To be honest, it's a wide angle lens.
It might work out. I once was I don't really get to the gym these days, but back in the day, I need to get back. Getting old. I was once at the gym. I was looking at this guy doing this really weird workout, and I couldn't stop staring because he's got this brace attached to his head, and he's going like that. And like pulling these weights with his neck to do his neck, and it just looks so odd. Maybe he's been doing that. I know what you mean, Nick, though. He has got a thick neck, but I'm not going to call him an alien just because he's got a thick neck.
That's a tight suit if it was a bloody space suit or skin's tight suit.
He's got a chiseled jaw.
He does, yeah.
He's definitely got that. He's got a character to him.
I mean, his head does look big. I mean, obviously it could be the lens, but the head does look bigger than the guys around him.
Keep going. We're going woo now. I like this.
They I don't know. The guy on his right though has bigger ears than him though, so I don't know. Maybe the other guy is his buddy alien.
Yeah, I was like putting all this into the Photoshop, like zooming in, see if I could see anything on the walls. Like I'm looking for a mobile phone on a desk or something like that to see if they've got any like future tech. Nothing. I can't
That's
see
an
anything.
that's an iPad that he's holding. You know, it's that thin paper, but it's an iPad.
Well, it might be that like the new generation of iPad, mate, that is like
Yeah.
paper.
Hmm. I guess it looks more like paper though when you look at how it curves down. I guess it is, but you know, Ali, it's like if we had a picture like nowadays of this, we would so quickly, this guy would be found on social media in 2 seconds. We'd know who he was.
Yeah.
I mean, social media, everything just changes all of this investigation. Like, how would you go back and even find this guy? I mean, it's so hard now to do that, you know, to blow it open wide. And this is why I think you have someone like Phil that's able to get on these big circuits, is just because, like, how could you really debunk him back then? I mean, we did now. I mean, we get the FBI stuff now, but at the time, it was easy to just say this stuff. Everything was just so you could just
Easy.
you could spiff it or spoof everything. I mean, how much even in the 90s, how much different is it? I mean, there weren't just cameras everywhere. People were still lying on job applications everywhere. I mean, there was it was a wild, wild west. I mean, a part of the story with Phil is that he went and bought the uranium, the unrefined uranium from a guy in a tavern. And I could believe that could happen back then, because even if you came up to somebody and said, hey, this guy said he was going to buy uranium, all the guy had to say was, nah, it wasn't me. And there was no other way to track it. They couldn't look at the text messages of the conversation, the transaction. They couldn't record the phone calls. It was wild back in those days. It's nothing like now.
I mean, my children are going to look back at the 90s and even like the beginning of 2000 and be like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the Wild West to the young'uns, because you could just get away with anything. It was good times.
Have you heard about Jeffrey Dahmer? Yeah, you can get away with anything. Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Maybe those were good times, but yeah.
No, not good. Yeah. Sorry, that's a wrong analogy. Sorry.
No, it was actually a pretty good one.
I think that's why, though, Ali, when you look at stories and nowadays of evidence that comes out, 29 Palms, stuff like that, it just doesn't have the legs anymore. People just shoot it down so quick. Everything is so analyzed, and that's why you don't get these long stories. You know, how long was Grush out before everybody, you know, mostly shot him down? A couple weeks. It was already over. I mean, if you put Grush back in 95, he would have had a run like Phil, for sure. Could have had it for years. So different now.
I did get to think about this case, and I almost changed the thumbnail and put Grush on the thumbnail looking at Phil Schneider. I wish I had it done.
Nothing wrong with a bit of Grush, huh?
But my thoughts with this, and I'm going to go back to the death again, and like, I know there'll be people getting, so what? People do shit, you know. You know, the guy probably his UFO alien thing wasn't working out. You know, that was his final straw. It's time to wrap the what was it?
Catheter cord.
The catheter. What was it? What was wrong with him? Why did he have the catheter? Do we know that?
Oh,
well, he had a load of problems. He had, allegedly, when he had the laser blast from the alien, he had a lot of radiation poisoning. But bear in mind, the materials he was bringing around in his conferences were actually quite radioactive, according to the debunkers. This is what I'm going by. But you can see he's holding up these materials, these unknown materials, and apparently that sort of escalated his because he had cancers and all that. He had major back problems, so he was on loads of pills. Bear in mind, he was on a massive amount of medication, and he has been for many, many years prior to his death as well. So you have to put that into consideration as well. So he looked quite right. I screamed. Maybe one day he's like, well, fuck it, you know.
So you think he was in a lot of pain?
My time's done. Yeah, as I said, he was in a lot of pain, and so Cynthia, his ex-wife, said that.
So people that are in a lot of pain usually have access to a lot of painkillers as well.
Yeah, I mean, suggesting he could have took an easier way out for sure. That's why I wonder if he wanted his death to look more, conspiracy, bring more light to it.
I mean, maybe he might have done that for his family, thinking, I don't want to be here, but
Well, I believe him when he said,
I'll make this more conspiracy because, you know.
yeah, I mean, I believe it when he said he values his country more than his life. I mean, that's a big statement. And I feel like when people said stuff like that back then, people meant stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
It was a
absolutely.
big deal. And patriotism, I feel like over the years, my opinion, is not what it once was.
No, that was the same. Like you don't hear you probably call us call the UK us the UK or Britain.
Sure,
You
UK,
do not hear Great Britain anymore.
yeah, you don't.
No, we're not great. We're not a great country. You can scrap that out completely.
I mean, there's great parts about it, man. I tell you, I was thinking about this the other day.
Oh, yeah, there's the best
You know?
UFO channel coming from the UK, like, by far. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've got another one right down at the bottom there that's
I mean,
about to
we're
launch some new stuff.
Yeah, his patriotism is great, and it makes it believable. It makes the story believable. A real patriot like this. Why would you think this guy was lying, man? There was a lot of respect. I mean, there's still respect for military and people like that involved, but he definitely had an authoritative voice, and you could believe it. Yeah.
But like when you look at Dodie and you look at Grush that's doing a job right now, and now we've got nobody can debunk anything with Grush because it's all hearsay at the moment. So nobody can do anything with that other than the mental health issues. With this guy, I'm wondering if the whole mental health thing with this field is a really good mix for them to pick people. So I'm not saying that this guy is telling the truth. I'm saying this guy may have been, if he loves his country, that story that he told may have been exactly what he was supposed to spin at the time. Maybe he was doing the job of his country right there with this stand-up stuff. Something happened. It went wrong. He may have spoke in somebody's ear. I don't know. That I've been told to do this, blah, 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 blah. This is, he may have leaked something he shouldn't have done. Because the story is absolutely wild. The story, it's one of those things that you look back at the UFO community and realize why people called us like tinfoil hat wearers. Because it's so fucking out there. Whereas when you're looking at ufology now, you've got pilots, you've got radar people, you've got even NASA talking about it. You've got corporate, you've got Arrow, you've got like professionals that are speaking essentially to the world now. But back then you've got it's almost like this right now with Phil is what we're supposed to look back on now and go, yeah, but it's all full of shit. That's not real. This is real. That's not real.
It could also be just a sign of, I mean, I just to kind of expand, I guess, what you're saying, it makes me think about Richard Doty and think about what was like necessary at the time. You couldn't take someone like Phil Schneider now and stick him out there the way he is now. You would need somebody that was more grounded, with more grounded of a background. So even though Grush has the PTSD background, that's nothing to what's being said about the background of Phil. I mean, they're completely different levels of mental health. I mean, if we're going to believe, that Phil mutilated himself and hurt himself and all these things, Grush had a few extra drinks. That's nothing, But it does. I do agree with you, Ali. It is kind of strange now that you say that, and I have never thought about this until now. The people that do step out in front are very different. even though some of the reasons are the same. Like even Elizondo said, this is for my country. You get out of the way if you can't get what you need done and you go somewhere else. It's a lot of, for God and country. But the sources do seem like they're more tailored for the time. Grush seems perfect for right now,
Mm-hmm.
I agree
Absolutely.
with that.
You look at this, you look at the stuff that he's doing. He's appealing to the younger generation as well, is Grush.
Yeah, he's a bit more lighthearted, he's not as straight-laced and I'm the man. He's not like that. He'll sit down and talk to these younger college kids and flow the conversation.
He's a fucking likable guy. He's like to them, he's probably like an older brother that they wanted. And for us, it's probably like that. He would make a great neighbor. He's the guy that would offer to mow your lawn.
It's true, man. Yeah, God,
the guy that's got the barbecue on is like, still some left. Do you want a burger? Or, he's that guy. He's that nice guy.
Yeah, he's like, we got a couple hot dogs left. You ask him, he goes, yeah, you have one. Yeah, I agree. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a part of that documentary that came out not long ago. You had all the people afterwards that were asking those questions, like they're mostly like youngsters. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary of that. It was the day after the hearing, and you had all these youngsters. It must have been probably about in their early 20s, and they were really enthusiastic about speaking to Grush, and they were asking all these
like college kids, were they?
Yeah, more like college kids, but it was almost like they were curious and are willing to ask the questions. But you're quite right. Yeah, he seems. I could love to have a smoke with him or something like that. But yeah, a very genuine guy, very genuine.
Well, those kids that he was talking to, that generation, guys, that's coming up, I think hands down look like the generation that could handle this topic being released more than others, more than anyone before them. Kind of going with your timing thing, Ali.
Absolutely onto something there, mate. You're on that. And
you don't get fear from them, Ali. When you hear those kids, you don't hear fear in their voice from that stuff. I didn't. It's way more curiosity at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, kids these days, they like, if you remember growing up, I mean, ice cream, I'm assuming you're quite a bit younger than I am.
Yeah, I'm 33. Yeah.
33, that's my favorite number.
So am I.
You're 33 as well.
Yep.
Hey, let's hear it for the 1990s, huh?
That's my number, 33. Okay, I'm 43, so I'm 10 years older than both of you. And so I remember the 80s. Where am I going with this? The kids that are of today, and I've got kids of my own, and they're the kids of today. So don't say, "Oh, it's fashion bastard." My kids, kids are numb to. I'd say the older kids that I've seen, and I worry about my boys, become a little bit numb to tragedy, because I grew up with a spectrum where that was like little pixelated graphics where I would kill the alien or whatever, Space Invaders, shit like that. Now you're blowing the fucking head off something, and you'll see like the giblets and it's so graphic what they'll see. Don't get me wrong, I like to play a good game. I've just played the RoboCop demo today on the PC.
Oh yeah.
But it's on. They can take. I think they can literally. They could take anything. I showed a mate of mine he's a lot younger than I am. He's like 23 years old. Good friend of mine. And I'm like, you need to come around here and watch The Shine. I'll show you a real horror film. And he's like, that ain't scary at all. It's not scary. There's nothing bad about that. And I'm like, Really? That's not a scary horror film. Like maybe he's right. Maybe that's not scary anymore. Maybe there's nothing that can phase people. So my point there, Ice Cream, is I think you've nailed it. Maybe if there is going to be some sort of disclosure, that's where it's going to hit. Maybe in a few years, when when I'm old, when Goofon's really old, yeah. How about that for a flip flop, mate? I love that man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think there's 10 years in me and Rich. Yeah, 10 years apart, just like you two. 10 years. My point being is, I think that'd be the perfect. It'd be the perfect people to do it to, because I think they could definitely handle it, and it may not even phase them when it happens at all. It might be like, we've been expecting this for years. There you go. That's it. Let's move on. What we're going to do with them, you know?
Well, it seems like every time that they reevaluate just the public's whole perception on, do they think there's life out there? Do they not? Those numbers grow every gen, you know, and it's almost like this is the one where I think that, especially with the kids that are coming up now, I think that you're right. I think they could handle it, but they might honestly be thinking even further down the road, because think about the next 2 generations after them. Could they really, really handle it? You know, are they watching this progression? Because you're right. Look at Mortal, like you mentioned the video game earlier, Mortal Kombat 1, when it first came out. We remember that on the arcade. Look at the Mortal Kombat 1 that just came out now. I mean, talk about a difference in gore and fighting and crazy. And like, now I look at it and I go, that's kind of wild, but it doesn't bother me. But now these kids, when they're younger, when I was younger, it might have bothered me now. I mean, they don't care. They're playing it. They're not even thinking twice. You know, I remember playing Gears of War 3 and the Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. And like, those were the times where you were causing a lot of destruction and gore. And I wonder about that, Ali. Video games are an interesting one. I don't personally think
I love video games.
Yeah. I don't think they harm people. I don't think they make people kill people and stuff, but I do think it is incredible tool for desensitization. I do. Because I mean, when you play Gears and you're stomping people's head off and stuff like that, like, you didn't see that stuff even in movies back in the 80s and 90s that was that gory, and you're actually doing it. So I think you can look at that stuff more. Yeah, I mean, we're getting definitely more desensitized. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I can even remember the first GTA game on the PS1. Remember, you were from the up sort of the
top down,
view.
yeah.
And that was, I wouldn't say gory, but you know, you can run bloody people over in cars and all that sort of stuff. You know, the blood trail and everything. I mean, it's a completely different gore, but it didn't make me fucked up. You know, I quite enjoyed it back as a kid. You know, it's one of those things.
No, I'm right there with you, Ice Cream, with that one. I don't think they do fuck kids up. Video games, I do think they numb kids to certain things. I think but that's not just video games. That's probably happened with movies, with everything.
100%. But I think that the success rate, if you want to put it that way, or the amount of desensitization you can get from a game versus a movie, different levels completely. Gaming can desensitize you a lot quicker than movies and music can. I mean, look at music now. I remember when rap albums would come out and there'd be bad lyrics all over the place. Parents would riot over that. Now nobody even cares what their kids listen to anymore. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you have a kid, they're on an iPad or an iPhone and they're seeing stuff that you couldn't imagine your parents would let you look at, and it's right there at their fingertips. So, I mean, it's a progression. I wonder, to kind of tie that back into Aliens. I mean, do you think we're going to see more and more movies as time progresses before if we do get some kind of disclosure thing? Do they want to make them maybe more scarier than the real thing so that they're ready for it? Because the real thing will seem not as bad, right?
I'm really into alien films. Any alien film I'll watch. I'll give it a go. There's quite a few popping up now, trailers wise, and they look fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, so people speak about that conspiracy that Hollywood is kind of like they're giving us the truth in small bits. They're showing us little Easter eggs. Now, I really hope that's not an Easter egg. I don't think if they're alien, you know, let's bring it back to Phil.
Yeah.
If they are, because what he explains, he never talks about. No, he actually does talk about them coming from a star, but the story's interesting that they're underground.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, it's usually when you've got a story of aliens, you've got a spaceship that lands, creatures get out. You've got an abduction. This one, you're digging into the earth, and there's little. Well, not little. I don't think they were little.
They were 7 foot tall grays,
Yeah,
which
they were big,
which I had
weren't they?
never
Yeah.
I had never heard of grays being 7 foot ever, other than his story. Can you think of anywhere else you've heard of them being 7 foot?
I've heard of the
Barney
tall
Hill?
grays.
Oh, I've never heard the tall
Yeah,
grays. I've heard the
Yeah,
tall
the tall
whites,
grays,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you got tall. Well, yeah, the tall grays have been mentioned a few times. Tall grays and the normal. The tall grays are apparently the actual
Nasty.
grays. They're like us. As in they are living. The smaller ones, they're like the drones. They're not actually real. They're little robot things.
Yeah.
I don't really buy into that, but the one thing with the Phil Schneider story that I do buy into is things living under the earth, underground, because there's so many like underground discoveries that, and you'll know this, Nick, from your buddy Hancock. You know that there's things that we just don't understand because we've not looked into it. How far have we dug down under the earth? Is it 8 miles?
About 7 miles, I think, around about that.
7
Yeah,
miles,
it's quite
okay.
a lot. Yeah, but isn't it what they say when they got to the 7 mile point and they couldn't actually drill further? There was something like blocking the way or something like that. Did you hear the story?
Yeah,
behind
that's
it?
the alien spaceship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's Coulthard, he knows. But yeah, you're right, Ollie. I think there's more to be discovered. I mean, Graham Hancock mentioned, you know, they got satellite images going through the Amazon forest, and you can see there are like these massive strands underneath these trees. You know, God knows what's been buried there, especially when it comes back to Antarctica. Like that's been closed off to the public, regardless what people say. I mean, I heard one video saying, "Oh no, it's fine. You can go to Antarctica." It's like, yeah, but there's only one Pacific spot, but the rest of it, God knows what's underneath there. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if there is an alien spaceship.
Yeah, the underground thing is interesting, Ali. I agree, and it always I guess it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. Are they using some of these people to get some of the truth out? You know, like a drip process. You know, you have to kind of figure out what's real and what's not, because the more we learn about Tic Tacs and everything that's gone on with like recent things, is that the Navy's taken a lot of interest in under the water. And I agree that if I was from somewhere else and I was going to watch over a civilization, they would know where we've discovered the most and where we live and where could they hide the best. Our oceans, man. And if you went in the oceans and went inside and went underground, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know if that's what's going on, but I'm willing to entertain the idea. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's possible. Yeah.
So I personally don't believe Phil Schneider.
Yeah, I don't either, but yeah.
I do have a 30% belief that Phil Schneider was told to say all that. Just like Dodie was given a job. I think that may have been his job. What do you two think about that?
I'm going to say something about how it got into the circuit. Do you know this is going back to like the early 90s of conferences? Some called Jordan Maxwell, Al Bulick, Vladimir Tazinski. Vladimir Tazinski, I'm going to be talking a lot about him because he's a guy who talks about Nazi flying saucers, batshit crazy guy. But he was hanging around in that sort of circuit. Now, these people, do you know like Jordan Maxwell? You ever heard of them? These are like people that are really deep into conspiracies, you know, the esoteric side and all that. So he was hanging around with these sort of people. This is like the David Icke sort of people. So almost like a David Grush sort of thing. It was almost like I'm not complaining about him, but it's getting that sort of push by these people to come out. And I think that's what gave him the actual push from all these people were saying, come on, you got a great story here. You know, you got a lot of good evidence. And then he finally came out in 1995. So that's how Phil got into the conferences. He sort of more or less hanging around with the conspiracy theory people, like Jordan Maxwell, Vladimir Tazinski. You can find a lot of their lectures online. I've got a lot of them from the early 90s. This is like going in a way back machine, but there is a lot of old lectures, and that's where he's got his inspiration from.
You think he's getting some of the, because I mean, he talks about there being the tall grays there, but he talks about the reptilians too. I mean, do you think that's where he's getting that from? Is David Icke and those guys?
Because Jordan Maxwell, I mean, I know a lot about him, and he talks about reptilians and all that. This is a sort of clan that talks about that sort of stuff. So he's probably been fed that information. I mean, like I said earlier, when it comes to Phil Schneider, he was mixing conspiracy theories with ufology, with his experiences when it comes to the fight that I had in 1979. So it's a lot of mixture of stories, and it's not very coherent. So he's adding a lot of these conspiracy elements into his talks, and it's just diverting, you know, the actual subject itself. But that's down to the people he's hanging around with. Well, he's been, because he was hanging around with Corbell and the man himself, George Knapp. God knows what he's been feeding information.
I mean,
look, he was behind him. He was behind him in the conferences, you know, so he's getting his information from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, after Dodie, Ali, any of it's possible. I mean, especially since, I mean, this is the kind of the MO of everyone who comes out in this topic, who gets really popular, has a lot of stories to tell, who doesn't have any evidence. It's always somebody told me, somebody clued me in. I mean, it's just the way that it goes. Yeah, I mean, it's the same idea. Yeah, Grush is in the same boat. He's in the same boat. I don't know. It's just always seems to be the same thing.
Keep an ice cream, testicles on the table, okay?
Yeah.
If you look at Phil Schneider and everything you've seen, all the stories, the evidence that's been put in place, not evidence of aliens, but evidence that of stuff that's happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And his death, you look back at his mental health, and you see some stuff is coming out not so long back with the wife talking about it as well. And his love for his country. If I asked, if you had to answer, one way or another, what would you put your testicles on? Not money. Testicles are more important.
That if he had like a Dodie character behind the scenes, someone speaking to him.
I just want to know what you think.
Yeah, I think so. Why not?
You don't think he made it all up?
I mean,
no. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You do think he made it all up, but
I do. Did he have influence?
You don't think he made it all up just for a grift?
No. I definitely think he believes what he's saying for sure. Yeah, I mean, I just the mental health, Ali, has such a big role into it. When you're schizophrenic like that, and I'm not like a mental health expert, but I've been around people who are schizophrenic. I knew a guy who I won't name obviously, but I'd hear him in the other room talk to people who aren't there, get in arguments with himself and think, what is going on? You could those people I think could very easily make them believe these stories. Even sane people can make them believe. I know this is what Dave was talking about on your show the other day, which is that's a way people beat lie detector tests is you make yourself believe these stories. Sane people do it, and if you have issues like that, you can build stories. And when you look at his mutilations and his problems, if he ever maybe felt guilty about doing that stuff, maybe had moments of clarity and regretted it, maybe he's got to find a reason of why it happened to sell it to himself that he's not crazy, or that, give a reason of why he did it. There's so many reasons. Now, does he have outside influence also talking to him, giving him counterpoints, kind of like what Nick's saying, where he's hearing about the Draconians, he's hearing about this stuff? Is he building the narrative in two ways? His own mind from the outside? Yeah, I think that's true. I do. I think it's not all from him. If he has people like that around him, of course. I mean, when you're around other people, you rub off. People's stuff rubs off on you, in a non-sexual way. But yeah, I think that there's something involved with it for sure from the outside. Yeah, why not?
Nick, that would probably be something for your channel, actually, for a little project to try and find out as much as you can about this photograph.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to my channel, I don't want to digress, but I want to do other stuff as well. So I will look into this sort of subject. But yeah, that's a good point, Ollie. That picture, I have seen it, but I haven't really dug in. Someone must have done their research somewhere. So yeah, I'm on it, mate. I'm on it. Because that's a very clear photograph. Because I remember seeing that footage of Phil Schneider, me and my dad. This is back in, bloody hell, this is like the early 2000s, where me and my dad we were on, like, when it comes to ufology, we were on it back in the 90s. It was always UFO stuff in our house. And I clearly remember watching it on the internet. And we saw that photograph. And I can remember Dad was saying at one point, God, I'd love to see that photograph come at some point. And I actually got to send it to him because it's finally on there. I mean, that's just how the internet is now. But yeah, it's such a clear photograph. But if you look at his fingers, he's got really long fingers. Now, I'm not judging the guy. He's got a thick neck. He's got long fingers. That's a tell sign he's an alien.
I thought the fingers looked a little bit long too. It's an interesting part of the photo. Yeah, I agree.
Bring it up, Ollie.
Yeah.
No. He's got no fingers, mate.
I like how you can only see like 2 on the one hand and maybe 3 on the other. His hand is like just folded, a little weird.
Yeah,
it fits the story so well, right? I mean, because look at everybody else. You can see their hands in the photo. You see 5 fingers all day.
I know. God, I'm so glad Dave and Lee are not here, because all they'd be doing is like talking about my fucking hands. How they're not normal sized. I'm like, they are fucking normal sized. You two have fucking giant hands.
They're not Valiant Thor normal. There you go.
Yeah, long and pointy.
So let's play a little bit more of this, because let's go a bit.
Now, what I'm telling you is kind of almost like a brain overload here. Back in 1946, we set off a number, actually 4 atomic bomb tests at Bikini Atoll, a group of islands in the South Pacific. I have an original photograph here with original language on the photograph that shows there is a large alien spaceship off a wingtip of a United States aircraft.
I couldn't find
it. It's a drone aircraft right at the point where the bomb was beginning to show a neutron flash cloud. Here's the bomb going off. Here's the airplane tip here, and here is the alien spacecraft. Now, in 1947, questions later, please. In 1947, after Roswell,
right, that's the bit that I wanted to show that bit.
Our military.
Right, so right there, one with the photograph, because right now you cannot show a photograph. You can't. You can't. No one can show a photograph now of an alien spaceship in some clouds and just look at it and go, wow. You just can't, because we all go, it's fake.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse
because
too.
we know how. Yeah, I could make the best fakes right now, but everybody would say they were fake because everybody could make the best fakes.
Yeah,
it's easy.
You think he got this
Really
photo
easy.
from his dad, Ollie?
I want to see that photograph, because I think there's two things there with that little clip, and I don't know if you spotted the other thing that
I have an original photograph here with original language on the photograph that shows there is a large alien spaceship off a wingtip of a United States aircraft. It was a drone aircraft right at the point where the bomb was beginning to show a neutron flash cloud. Here's the bomb going off. Here's the airplane tip here, and here is the alien spacecraft. Now, in 1947, questions later, please. In 1947,
did you see what that bit there? The questions. Somebody wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
Now, that's either two things. That's either this is my spiel, and I need to finish this to sell this story, or that's a mission. That's a mission to get that bit of information out there, right at that time, and I'm not going to be interrupted because I'm doing this for my country.
Yeah.
I don't think the alien story I don't think he believes it. I think he's been told to say it. I think he's been told to do this alien story and bring these photographs and whatever bit of junk he has on that table. I'm wondering if the photographs, because they always say that with all of these things, there's some truth to something. I want to see this photograph. I cannot find this photograph. I found the other one. I couldn't find this. It's probably out there. I couldn't find it.
It's going to be hard, yeah.
Is this the Bikini Island atom bomb test from 1946?
It says 1947.
Oh, 1947, because there is a video footage clip here from the 1946 test, which I don't think it's that one. Do you say 1947?
Let's have a look here.
That's what he's saying for this photo, yeah.
For that one, okay.
Yeah. But at this time, Ollie, in 95, there's still so much UFO lore that they could have found, that he could build this story. I mean, you know what I mean? Even without someone's help, even without him being on a script,
Oh, totally. But he's at some sort of event here, and people are looking at these photographs. Now, I'm just wondering how easy back then, if he's a one-man band, it's just him doing his thing. How easy the photograph of his dad with the alien, that's just an easy photograph to get. You could just go into a library, see this photograph and go, that's the one. But this one, I'm wondering what's on that piece of paper. Because after this, he's saying questions after and all that. People are allowed to come over to this table and look at everything and see these photographs. Because somebody got the picture of this, and somebody got it in really good quality.
It's great quality, yeah.
Yeah. He must have got it from his dad.
Where the fuck's that?
That's what I'm wondering. But Ollie, why do you think I mean, I guess it's still on this topic, but maybe it's a little bit of a divergence. Don't you think it's weird that he makes himself out to be a geologist? He wouldn't have had to have done that. He was an engineer, and for his story to even be true, they would have took him down there and all those tunnels and drilling. He wouldn't have had to have made up to be a geologist because he wasn't one. In my opinion, I mean, I agree with the debunk on it that he wasn't one.
No, I don't
But
think he would.
but like why would he?
I
add
agree
that to
with
the story?
most of what Scott says in that debunk,
Yeah.
by the way. Pretty much.
Well, I've never seen anyone else debunk it like him. I've seen. I looked around on Phil Schneider forever. I've never seen anyone break him down like that. Have you? Have you seen anybody other than Scott?
No, Scott's really good at doing this thing. The only thing that I wanted to ask, I wanted Scott to pop on just so I could, because as a debunker, you must acknowledge, because Scott believes in this subject. He does. He's an absolute believer in this subject, and he hates the fucking snake oil salesman and the all the fakers out there. He doesn't like them. I think he thinks they're fun, like I do. But I think there is a side to this, just like we've mentioned this picture with Greer many times on the show. I think there is a real different side to this that is coming from a higher up. For some reason, there is a mission, let's just say, for these people to complete. And this guy with his, I would say, the people that may have given this poor man this job to do for his country because he wanted to do that, and I genuinely believe he believed in his country, and this is what he wanted to do. I think he thinks he's doing the right thing here, because the way he's saying this is not like doesn't seem like a lie. And I think if you believe you're doing the right thing by presenting it this way, for some reason, you can come across believable, because he becomes across believable.
Well, what do you think? Do you think the side that spoke to him was the side that wants to keep this cover up going, or do you think it was the side that wants to slowly release it? I mean, what team do you think he's talking to?
I don't think they want to cover it up.
So you kind of you think more like what Grant Cameron thinks,
I
where he thinks it's a slow drip. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're playing the long game, and humans don't do that, because we don't live that long. So we're selfish creatures, so we don't play the long game. Cults do.
That's true.
They play the long game. There's something about this case.
So do you think then if you look at it this way, then Ali, if you look at how Grush was, denied a skiff, do you think that could even happen from the people that wanted out, but they just think that if they got him in there and he was to actually leak some of the right people, the right names, that they're like, we want it out, but it's still too fast. It's still not ready yet. So even the people that want to get it out want to stop it. Slow it down at least.
I don't even know if Grush could have been told an absolute load of rubbish for all I know.
Sure.
But he's definitely been told it. I believe he's been told it.
Well, I mean, did you hear what Danny Sheehan just said? He let it slip out, and I think I said the other night it was Mellon. I misspoke last night, but it was Danny Sheehan was saying that
what show was Danny? He was on. What show was he on the other day?
He was on with Bassett. I can't remember the name of that channel, but they were doing a tandem interview, and Sheehan said that when Elizondo's security clearance came into question after the 2017 videos were released, the person who reviewed his clearance was David Grush.
Wow.
They're always linked, Ali. And when I heard that for me, in my opinion, that cleared it to me, where I said, okay, he is talking to people like Elizondo, in my opinion, Put Off, Davis. Like, these are the people that he's talking to, at least a majority of them. You know, there's definitely influence at that point because they've had the contact way before Grush came out. 2017? Man. So I mean, linking that to Phil, it's like these guys have always been spoke to. I mean, there's always everyone who comes out as a whistleblower or whoever blows up with a big story. Look at Phil's dad, part of the what, Manhattan Project? Is what he was saying?
Well, apparently,
Allegedly?
I don't know
Allegedly?
how, I don't know
Yeah.
how true that is.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it's just let's just go with allegedly right now, there would be a connection there at that point. There's always some kind of connection. I get why you're drawing the conclusion of that it's a drip process. I really used to think that. But I don't anymore. When I see what the DoD does, I see how people get shut down.
You think they're covering up? You think they just want to cover it up?
Yeah, I think there is a group that wants it out, but I don't think that group wins. I still think they're outnumbered. You know, I just do. I think we need a whistleblower that we've never heard from and someone to come out completely on their own and do a Snowden.
I don't know what this guy's purpose was in all of this. I really don't, but I definitely think he had a purpose. Like you look at the guy that they sent that Dodie sent bonkers.
Yeah.
What was his name again?
Dude, you're gonna get
Benowitz.
Paul Benowitz. Paul
Benowitz. Yeah. This is probably a guy. This is probably a Paul Benowitz that really did work.
Yeah, I mean, he was an engineer. I believe that. Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, like the Benowitz case, in my opinion, didn't help ufology. It hurt it. You know, so I mean, when you look at Phil, I think once again, I think it hurts it. Now, whether or not they're trying to weave in some truth, I mean, I don't know. Like I asked myself, Ali, how well is that really worked out? That theory? You know, do we have any more videos that are more concrete evidence because of that? Do we have more photos that are more concrete from this process, this drip process? I don't see really the fruits of it, other than people talk about it more. But I don't really see the topic progressed as far as like nuts and bolts hard evidence. It's the same thing with Lazar. Like I know a lot of people feel that, especially Grant Cameron definitely feels that Lazar was like a Paul Benowitz. They used him to push out more of the story, that he was on a script. I mean, it's possible. I just like how well did that work out?
They showed Lazar essentially a craft that they'd made.
What, you're saying that Grant believes that? I mean, whether or not it's, I think Grant believes
I'm saying
alien,
is he saying no? I'm saying is he saying that if he believes Lazar was manipulated like Paul Benowitz,
yeah,
that Lazar does think he worked on an alien spaceship.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Grant believes that he did work on it, but they knew that they could discredit Bob, so they wanted Bob to put some of the story out, like you're saying.
Yeah,
and then just discredit him later to slowly, like this acclimation process to it. I don't know if I just don't see a lot of evidence that that's working. You know what I mean?
The weird thing that I don't know if I think we have. I think Stu's already mentioned this on the show, but Stu started out with like wanted to destroy the Bob Lazar story because he's like, this is bullshit. And he was a big believer in it. But the more he's dug into the Bob Lazar thing, there's things that stick out like a sore thumb to him that he's now believes there could be some cojones to this story, that maybe it did happen. Now, I go up and down with Bob Lazar. I think a lot of people do with Bob Lazar. I don't know how you can't just. Thing is with Bob Lazar, he's perfect. He's the guy. He's intelligent, but he's the guy that if he fucks up, you can destroy him like that, and no motherfucker will believe him because they look at his background. He hasn't got one.
I'd love to have that interview on Joe Rogan. Wasn't he was supposed to? I can't remember that. Was it someone Weinstein?
Eric
guy who's-
Weinstein.
Eric
Eric
Weinstein, yeah.
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 Yeah, them two together would be amazing because that will prove to everybody that Bob Lazar is genuine. If them two had a go and just a decent conversation so we can get into the sort of the brain of Bob Lazar and his sort of his background, you'd be able to bring it forward. But he's standing behind him. Where's this 115? Element 115. It's been 30 odd years, Ollie. It's about
Joe
time.
Rogan had Corbell and Knapp on after that. Didn't get mentioned. But I bet it did at dinner.
Well, it's just like every time Bob has an opportunity to come out and prove it in like a really open way, he just never, he passes it up every single time.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with me. The more I've looked at it lately and thought about it, when I hear Lear talk about how Bob used to come over to his house before Bob even went to the base and they would talk UFOs. And a big reason why Bob all of a sudden just changed his mind on UFOs and wanted to go out and meet up with Edward Teller, who got him out on the test site and all these things. Bob had kind of become a believer. And I started to think, man, John Lear is one of the best freaking storytellers ever, man. In this topic, he's so knowledgeable. And if Bob decided that he wanted to maybe at his young age, a little mischief, make up a little story, I truly am starting to believe that I think Lear and Bob made it up. I do. And I think this is why Bob over the years has wanted to somewhat get away from it, because there was times where Bob went dark and no one ever heard much from him anymore. And it's like when you tell that lie when you're younger and you're involved, but as you get a little older, you realize, man, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have told that story. And then you start to distance yourself. And then I wonder if when Corbell comes around and all these people come around and they're interested in him again, and he realizes, hey, I've never really been completely, evidence shown that I'm not right. Mm-hmm. Maybe I got to ride this thing out. And if I get some money along the way, it's just that, that you can see this, you could see his behaviors. And that's why he steers away from those conversations. If Bob was super interested in a lot of this stuff, which I think he is, how would you not be? Why would you not want to talk to Eric Weinstein? He needs to give us a reason of why.
Because maybe he can't speak to him.
What do you mean?
Maybe he will fall apart if he speaks to Eric Weinstein. Now, what if like these people like Lazar, Phil, if he was still with us, they're all at risk of losing out on essentially the money whatever money they may be making in the background. Like, like a government pension almost, like type thing. If you was given a job to do and you had to, I don't know how these things fucking work, but you essentially got to lie to everybody. You've got to keep that lie for the rest and take it to your deathbed, because there's a reason why you have to do that, and you've been shown the reason, and the reason is more important than telling the truth, because if you tell the truth, it will fuck everything up. You need to be part of the plan, and it's the long game. Do you remember the guy that held the alien? I forgot the guy's name, and everybody went, it's the
older
Walmart,
guy,
the Walmart alien.
Alien.
He held it out.
Yeah, old man, yeah.
Why? I always ask myself this when I see stuff like that. There's a few things where you've seen these people that have either you've got a whistleblower. There was also the one where the guy was being interviewed and you could tell he was about to die, and he was talking. I think he was talking about Roswell. I can't remember.
Yeah, he had the red. Yeah, he had the Red Angels hat on. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And he's giving it all. He's giving the story. He's about to fucking die.
I know.
What's the benefit? But if it's a lie, I'm thinking there's a big reason behind that lie. That lie, if like we've established that we believe that Phil Schneider is a liar. He lied about everything. But did he think that lie was the right thing to do at the time? But with Phil, I think something may have gone wrong. Hence, why it shortly ended the story. The story shortly got cut short. But a lot of these people, it looks like Bob Lazar will take this to his deathbed. This story I think, in 50 years' time, my kids will probably pick up if they follow in my footsteps. God, I hope they don't. They'll look back and they'll see this Bob Lazar character and go, was he telling the truth? Was he lying? He took it to his deathbed.
It's been how long has it been? It's been over 30 years, isn't it, since he's been, and he's stuck with the same story. So I with you, Ollie, 100%. He is gonna stick to the story until the day he dies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless there's some hardcore evidence to prove that he's full of shit.
Has the guy even got kids? Has Lazar even got kids? I don't think he has.
I don't think so.
But, I mean, he may not want to tell people about that.
He would have to, though, guys. He's got a business. If he came out now, it would hurt his reputation business-wise more to come out and say that he lied rather than just being the UFO guy. Being the UFO guy is not going to hurt his business. Being the liar UFO guy, I don't know. I mean, you're not making any.
I don't know if he approaches Corbell and says, listen, let's do another documentary. I want money for this, and I'm gonna tell you everything, how I did it. That's a story. That's a film. That's not just a story. That's a film.
Do you think it's life-changing money, though? Do you think it's enough that they could get enough out of it?
Well, first of all, Corbell ain't going to touch that with a barge pole. Honestly, he's gone way too far when it comes to Lazar. I think he'd probably go to a different documentary filmmaker. Personally,
I wonder what he's told Corbell. I really do. I wonder what their conversations have been behind the scenes. In that spot in Lazar's, or in that Corbell documentary where they're standing outside and he's hinting that they're going to go look at the 115. I really wonder what those conversations were, because he cut all around it,
that was just drama for the film. I think.
Yeah. But I wonder if they've had that conversation that it's not real. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. If at some point Bob said, look, this is the situation. But let me ask you about Phil then. Bring this back to Phil, Ollie. Do you, even if you think his story is not real, like completely, if you think there are some nuggets of truth into it, do you think, as you said, balls on the table, do you think Schneider actually killed himself, or do you think that he was killed?
I think a guy that's, if he's in a lot of pain, like we said, and even if he's not, what was it, 1996? It's easy to get drugs. Get some fucking drugs. You can get some drugs.
Yeah.
You want to make it painless. You can. There's easier ways of doing that than getting your catheter and wrapping it around your neck and then strangling yourself. I mean, how is that even possible? Because you get.
I think he relied on his weight for the strangulation.
Oh, I'm not sick like you two. I've not looked at the pictures. Did he attach it to something? And
I couldn't see that from the photo, not from what I remember what the photo looks like, but I haven't seen the photo in probably 5 or 6 years, man. It's been a while.
Right.
Yeah.
There was also blood as well, coming from the mouth.
He's pretty he's black and blue. He's, colored up pretty good.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I think I may have seen this,
there seems to be some sort of like damage to his hands, or what was left of his hand.
We established that there's definitely damage to his hands. This guy's got no fucking fingers.
I think it's good hand. So sorry.
Take my good hand.
That's what I was thinking.
My
I was
strong
just
hand.
thinking of that.
My
Take my
strong hand.
He's just little. I know it's weird, but you gotta take it.
Oh God, I should have done that in the thumbnail.
I will give you this though, Ollie. The one weird part about it to me though is that even if you were to do that to yourself with your own weight, you see people. I mean, you've seen people in films, obviously, put a rope around their neck, hang themselves from rafters and stuff like that. And one thing that I do think they get right is that there's a lot of struggle right before the body goes limp.
Yes.
And if he's on the ground, if he's not hanging himself up, because I don't know if a catheter would even hold him at his weight. He's a big guy. So I'm assuming that from the angle of the photo, total assumption here. But he must have tied it to the side of the bed and kind of just laid over. Even then, he's still gonna, as graphic as it is, shake, shimmy, because you're still gonna fight a little bit for your life. Your brain's gonna tell you, stop this, what's going on. Does it even hold that same? Can he do it? Is it possible? I mean, yeah, you could argue that for sure. Yeah.
I mean, take the alien story out of it. Take Phil Schneider out of it. All of it. Man strangles himself with his own catheter.
It does sound like a Hitman video game. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's weird. But the story's weirder. The story's out there.
Yeah.
There's no, with every UFO story, just like this one, there's no evidence. The evidence died, saved his life. That's the evidence. Put him in the cage, sent him back up. Thank that man. But
could you remember what the daughter's name is? Because she's coming forward, isn't she? I'd be interesting to see what she says.
I think it's Mary. I think it could be Mary. I'm not sure.
I'll have a look.
I'll
do a bit of digging.
Do a bit of digging, mate. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've heard a few times that she's like trying to chase this up and find answers. Because
yeah, I would. Yeah.
Have you seen a documentary on Amazon about Phil Schneider? Yeah, there's one on Amazon. It was actually free. Believe it or not, my normie girlfriend, we both watched it together, and she was like, God, I think that's real. I think it's actually real. So the documentary did a very good job of actually persuading people. Yeah, it's on Amazon. I think it's called DUMS, because that's what he coined it, DUMS, these underground bases.
Yeah, deep underground military base. Yeah.
I think that's what it's called for the documentary, so check it out. It might be free on Amazon or Netflix.
Yeah, it's a great story, no doubt.
Stu sent me an Amazon link and said you need to watch this, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. So yeah, I'm gonna watch it. The daughter is going to be an interesting one. If she starts doing talking about this. If you are watching, my dear, I'd love to get you on. This is my email address. We'd like to get to we're not going to get to the bottom of it, but we'd definitely like to talk about it. And there is no judgment on this channel at all. No. I do think there's something about this story that it doesn't something doesn't sit well, and that's definitely about the death more than anything. I think the death is people are right to be suspicious about that.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah.
Take the story out of it. The death 1 year after the guy's talking about it is just
No, I think it was a few months afterwards. It wasn't a year. I think it was the last
no, it was a year after.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
conference.
Yeah.
The last conference he did was on. Was it a year after?
It was in 96 he
I think it was
died.
a few
Yeah.
months. Wasn't it?
96. He started doing conferences in 1995.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which 30 of them
Okay,
squeeze
'cause
those in. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be at least, and probably was over a year. It's probably deep into 96 because, I mean, how many could he do per month, right? 30 plus of them. Even if you did 2 a month, you're still going to go over a year. I mean, I don't think
The
he was
last
doing
in-
more than 2 a month.
Yeah.
Who set
I
them
think
up
the
as
last
well?
interview.
Who set the conferences up?
It's a good
Yeah,
question.
this was down to Jordan Maxwell. You need to look into this group. I could do an episode on these people. These people who were in the circuit, the conference circuits in the early 90s.
Right.
If you type in Stepping Stone Awareness in YouTube, Stepping Stone Awareness, you'll find the channel, and you can find about 5 videos of Vladimir Tysinski, Anthony Gelhilder. Do you know Anthony Gelhilder?
Not heard the
No,
name,
no.
mate. No.
No, these people were in the circuit, and you can actually find them. And this is who Phil was hanging around with. Definitely get the information from these people. So it's worth looking into them.
You see what I'm saying there, though? Who's setting these conferences up?
Yeah.
Did Phil do it himself?
No.
What did he do?
definitely not,
Put a few leaflets through. Come and hear my story about how I shot a couple of aliens and then got chest shot myself from a net. It's
Yeah, you're thinking like a Richard Doty type guy got on the platform, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
I don't think
wondering
he did it himself. I don't think. I think he had a backhand.
That's something to look into. Who set them up? Who set all these things up? Who sets all of them up? Who's done the previous ones? Forget Phil. Who's done Lazar's ones? Who's done them all?
Well, Lear was definitely behind Lazar, man. Lear was like the founder of all that. I mean, if it wasn't for Lear telling George Knapp about Bob, and Bob, I don't know how we would have heard about all that.
I like John Lear as well.
I love him, dude. He's great. He was great. Rest in peace to him for sure. But definitely the best person to listen to talk about this topic, man. He could sell you anything. What a salesman he would have been, huh, Ali?
Oh, yeah.
He could have sold you a beat up car, full price.
Just had to label it a classic. And that's it. So Nick, what's coming up from you next?
I got a video on the way.
We're getting to that 2-hour mark now, so
that's cool, man.
Sell yourself.
So yeah, I've got a video coming up very, very soon. I just got to clarify, check a few things with Stu Little, who's kindly helped me to edit some videos of mine, which is amazing. So yeah, looking to put that out with by next week, 100% by next week.
Is there a clue to where it's on? Parakeets, aliens, UFOs?
Yeah, it's about this guy here, Joseph Andres Epp. He was claimed to be part of the UFO program in World War II. This is all in German. It's called Die Realität die Flugscheiben, which means the reality of flying discs. I'm going to break down his story and his claims.
In English, I hope.
Oh yeah, it'll be in English. Yeah, I found out about Google. Right, I'm dyslexic like you, Ollie. I can't read for shit. I read, and it doesn't function. It doesn't go in.
Yeah.
So if you go on Google Translate, you can actually take a picture of the actual words, and you can actually get a woman to speak for it for you. So I have bashed through this whole book.
Well.
Damn right, yeah, hot as fuck, man. But that I nailed it in not sexually, but now this book within like an hour and a half, which would have taken me like a whole fucking week. So yeah, thank you, Google. So yeah,
Having
but
a
yeah,
sexy
this guy
secretary is a total cliche.
man, it's like definitely a rabbit hole. So
Does she
yeah,
read it well as well? Does she like kind of like stop in the
Yeah.
right places and yeah?
Oh my
yeah,
God.
she fucking strokes you, and oh yeah, she gives you the
Oh
whole reach
God,
around
we
and
went
everything.
there.
Oh,
They can all. But anyway, back to this guy, Joseph Andre Zepp, coming soon.
awesome. And Ice Cream, you've got a show coming up tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I heard we're having some cool people on.
Who are they?
You.
That's not me.
Yeah, you too, Nick. You too. Obviously, yeah, we're doing our crossover show tomorrow. Same time as Alien Attic usually starts. We figured we'd not keep you up even later than you do now. But yeah, tomorrow, 5:00 Eastern time. What is it your time? 10?
10 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, so 10 p.m. your time. And we wanted to have just like a round table, a very, very familiar situation, but we wanted to talk about just the state of ufology, what everybody thinks is going on, and where do we think things are going. And when you leave an open topic like that with a few people, it can really, really lead to some fun places. So
Yeah, it's good. I'm really looking forward to it because I'm not working the day after either, so I'm gonna get absolutely smacked. No, I'm joking. I'll have a couple.
Usually we go an hour and a half, but I mean tomorrow, I mean we can go longer. We can go as long as we want. I'll be in for it. Unfortunately, Steve French, if you're a big fan of Steve French, he won't be with us. He's on a little vacation, but we will manage. And we're gonna have some great people. I guess Lee, you, Ollie, hopefully Nick. And then, yeah, I mean, anybody else, Stu and Dave, everybody's welcome.
Maybe Dave might be coming. I don't know. I know
I'd
Dave,
love to.
Dave's away at the. I'm not sure if he's back, but maybe. He did say he was on holiday, like the other day because he was supposed to come out on. We were going to do a show, but he wasn't too well, and then our guest. Oh yeah, so guys, yeah, if you're wondering what happened to the Rockfin show, the guest had to Zachary had to reschedule, but his stuff's great as well. It's really good. He does some alien stuff as well, a lot of alien stuff now. It used to be during the lockdown, he was talking about everything that was going on, but now he's doing a lot of like ancient stuff. There's some ancient alien stuff on that channel as well, so go check it out. And also Sunday, so after Terrestrial Materials, after we appear on there Sunday, we are going to be discussing this little bad boy. we're gonna hit Peru again because there's some new stuff on that, so I'm not going to blow my load right now. We'll talk about that on Sunday, so tune in for that. It's my favorite thumbnail ever.
It's awesome. Pretty high end. Yeah, there's so much new stuff, man. That show is going to be great. Is that Sunday?
That's on Sunday, yeah, and that's going to be Lee and Dave and the Hidden Underbelly. So
yeah, where's Hidden been? He hasn't been around as much. He's been real busy.
Yeah, Hidden's been well. He's so okay.
You don't have to go into all now.
No, it's going to be discussed on Sunday.
Okay.
So there's going to be a press conference, a hearing in the UK with Nick Pope, and
yes, I remember that. Yeah, hearing about that.
Yeah, so you know how we were talking before, like who would be the guy? Like Jeremy Corbell was the guy.
Yeah.
Well, Hidden Underbelly is going to be the guy that's going to sit in the Houses of Parliament with essentially Nick Pope in front of him, with a few whistleblowers as well. So it's going to be Nick Pope, a Hidden Underbelly, and a few people that I don't know yet because I've not got that information. They just don't give me that sort of information. But that's going to come out, I think it's sometime next year. But yeah, we'll talk about that soon. So without further, anyway, good night, God bless. Mind the Bugs Don't Bite, I Am Alien Addict, Terrestrial Material, and The Cosmic Twilight. Go subscribe, like, and share our shit out and all that jazz. Good night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on Terrestrial Material.
Well, in this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was or the entity was absolutely horrible. I didn't waste any time. I reached for my pistol. At that time, as an engineer, I didn't have time to carry all the folderol of one of these big submachine guns that all the sea spray and the yellow fruit and all the outer perimeter and inner perimeter security people carried. I carried a little Walther PPK pistol with a 9-shot clip. This was in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do die.
Hello?